is recording. Hello, everyone. So we are here to discuss The Octoroon by Dion Boucicault.
He wrote it in 1859, and it was also performed in 1859. So, what's the coffee on the Octoroon?
The coffee on the Octoroon. So, it's important to note that Dion Boucicault is an Irish playwright. He is a little unfamiliar with American culture, I would say.
Wrote a play about Louisiana slavery.
Slavery from Ireland. Well, here's the thing. He has an outsider's perspective, so that is the most important thing to note, that he is writing from almost ignorance, and he's writing from what he's heard, and not necessarily from what he's experienced. So, that's something to take note as we...
His worldview is very different from the actual worldview of the situation.
That's very true. In terms of what the Octoroon is about, it's about a plantation that is currently up for sale. The judge, the owner of the plantation, has recently died, has recently been deceased.
And his wife, Miss Peyton, can't afford to keep it.
Mrs. Peyton. And George, his nephew, is up to inherit it. However,
he can't afford to keep it.
So the question of who is going to own the plantation is
In the air.
in the air. Precisely. So as for the main characters, that is the main plot and what is to come regarding the conflict. But the characters include Mrs. Peyton, George, the nephew, Zoe, the tragic mulatto of the tale.
I want to call it that.
It's questionable. Okay, fair enough.
Dora the Explorer.
Dora. She's an important one. Then we have
Pete.
Wanatee, and Paul, and Pete.
And
McCloskey and Salem Scudder. So, Salem Scudder and McCloskey are currently in owners of the plantation.
They were like business partners.
Yes,
with the judge.
business partners with the judge.
They don't really like McCloskey, though.
No. McCloskey is a terrible, terrible, terrible man. He wants Zoe for his own, knowing that she is an Octoroon, and so he's going to do whatever he can to have his prize, in a sense.
Tells her he's going to buy the plantation and she will be his. And Miss Peyton asks him to look through some of the judge's stuff because she remembers that they should be getting money from someone that owes judge money, so then if she were to get that money, she should be able to keep the plantation. So she asks him to help her look through stuff.
McCloskey, that is a no-no. They cannot keep the plantation. Nope. It's got to be his. He's got to have Zoe.
He finds
He is
Zoe's,
definitely a tyrant.
Yes. He finds her free papers looking for this stuff to help Miss Payne out, but is secretly going to sabotage Miss Payne so that he is happy in the end, and he screws over everybody else. But he finds Zoe's free papers and
Makes it a
comes
mission
up with this plot so that
to
they
buy her so he can have
don't
Zoe all to himself.
receive, because he finds that they're going to get the money, and Paul and the Indian are on their way to go get the mail, and he comes with this plan to get the mail before them and find the letter that says they're going to get this money, and the letter...
Girl, just make it concise. It is fine. It's Gucci.
I don't know.
So, anyways, McCloskey is not going to let them get the plantation. He needs to stop that. However, Paul and Wanatee the Indian catch him. Wanatee does not see. Paul does, and McCloskey kills Paul. And anyhow...
And it's captured on camera.
It's captured on camera, precisely. And Salem Scudder, the virtuous one of the business partners, ends up finding this out and sends his men on a manhunt essentially to end McCloskey and make sure that he does not get Zoe, even after he has purchased Zoe once the plantation has come under. The overall theme of the Octoroon is essentially the perspective on slavery and racism of the late 1850s and the early 1860s. So we're kind of seeing how, one, Dion Boucicault kind of perceived that. And not being from here. And the sad part about the theme is that even, not only obviously are the whites very racist, such as McCloskey and Mrs. Peyton and George, you know, they all have an inherent racism.
He makes Pete very racist.
Yes, they even make the African Americans themselves very racist. They don't like their own race, they hate their own race, and they talk bad about their own race. I mean, Zoe kills herself because she can't stand to
she has
have 1/8 of African American blood in her. She cannot stand that.
One drop, dimming all her 7 sparkling drops of pure red blood.
So, by far, the overall theme of this is to show the racism, but most importantly, the perspectives on race in that time.
Is it mulatto time?
It is indeed the tragic mulatto time. So, the question comes down to, how does Zoe fit the role of the tragic mulatto? Well, first of all, she does have the social class of a white woman at that time. She's connected to Mrs. Peyton. She's not, objected to the rules of a slave. Exactly. And
she gets her own room. She eats breakfast with them instead of having to serve breakfast to them.
She has all the privileges of a white woman outside of society. Civilization has no clue. Except for some people.
Everyone in the play knows she is an Octoroon but George.
But the society around does not know, is what I'm saying. They don't want them to know that.
I don't know. I just feel like everyone in that play knows she's an Octoroon but George based off of the context of how they
I agree.
act with her. The fact that
Scudder
knows, Miss Peyton knows, McCloskey knows.
McCloskey
the way George treats her puts it off that she knows. Like, I get she's a Southern belle.
Okay. Anyways, and she falls in love with the white man, George. And they're in love, and unfortunately, it's meant to end tragically. It cannot happen because Zoe insists that George go and fall in love with Dora. But alas, she can't bear that on her heart. She can't bear to be sold to McCloskey, so unfortunate things happen in the end, which we all know.
Everyone in this class should know if you did the reading.
Bingo. Bingo. Okay. So, opinion time. Tell me, girl, what you think. We're waiting for your opinion.
I know. Okay. I myself was not a huge fan of the story because, one, trying to read it was very hard, and it made my, very, very, very mild dyslexia go out the roof. I could not grasp it or understand it, and I read it 3 times, and
not a fan, because
really like
you didn't like the style, you didn't like the piece itself, and necessarily what the plot was about. And the wording, especially.
I feel like
the style. You didn't like the style.
I didn't like the style. I feel like it was a little bit all over the place.
Okay.
It kind of jumped.
Okay.
Like, all of a sudden there's this storyline of George and Peyton, but then all of a sudden there's, all these slaves getting sold. All of a sudden all these slaves are apparently on a boat, and it's getting lit on fire. There are some plot holes, in my opinion.
See, I can feel you there. As someone who loves literature and loves quirky things, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a nice commentary on the culture of the time. The writing.
I think it was good culturally, but I just feel like
the writing
could have been
is
better.
a bit much.
I think the main issue was it was written by
But,
an Irish
you know,
guy.
Dion was trying to write in the language and the dialect of those of that time, however questionable it may be and however racist it may come off as. That was his intention. And I think, like I said, I appreciate the commentary and the time. And as preposterous as the ending may be, I think, you know, looking at it from our perspective, I think it does a lot to say of what that time period viewed of slaves, and the simple idea of what the Octoroon, the fact that makes you considered black and a bad person who should be a slave because they have one either, like, no, that's stupid. That's just plain stupid. We can all agree, and we can all sit calm. Okay. So, I mean, the culture, that's what resonated with me, and positively, I would say that Dion did his best to try to...
He did his best not actually knowing what it was.
Okay. Is it worth reading?
I think it depends on who you are as a person, on if you are going to actually want to read this. Like, you might have heard of it and thought, oh, maybe this might be interesting, but, like, if you think it's going to be hard for you to read based off of, like, just looking at it and not actually reading, but just looking at the way the script is preserved online as PDF of what we were given was very hard to read itself. I feel like it might have been helpful if I went out on my own and found a different version. But I think if you're really interested in that time period, you're really interested in trying to understand that culture and the way people thought, especially if you are someone that is considered a black in today's society, because I know some people that are.
Right.
And, like, and I don't know, it might be interesting for them to read it.
I think in terms of especially this class and race, very important, because it gives us a perspective on how far we've come in terms of our view of race and what work we still have to do. And even though slavery may not be an issue today...
Did it just rain in here?
No. Even though it may not be an issue today, we still have lots of racism, prevalent racism in our country and the world that we need to combat. And I think this kind of allows us to see the underlying racial prejudice that is still there, even if someone like Dion may not have noticed it. Someone who grows up in that kind of culture. So, I think in terms of showing the perspective on race, and with a character like Salem Scudder, for example, trying to fight that, and even though he may be in that kind of culture and he may have done wrong in the past, he's still trying to make up for that and see what's the best scenario that can come for a character like Zoe, or that can come for George. And I think characters like that in a place such as this are important to also hold up high and examine. So I think this is definitely a recommended piece in terms of race, especially. Not only with blacks and African Americans, but Indians as well, with the character Wanati. So,
yeah, that's true.
For sure, recommend. So we may have oppositional, but it's still the coffee.